Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Google My Business webinar. My name is Joey Donovan Gaido of Kappa SEO, and I'll be your host for the next hour, focusing on three main questions concerning Google My Business. What is Google My Business? Why is it important? And how do I most effectively use it or optimize it to get more local leads for my small business, or any size business for that matter? So I like to start my webinars off with a question. And today's question is, have you already set up a Google My Business page? And if you guys wouldn't mind, you should see on the right-hand side of your screen a little poll. You can just answer yes, no, or I have no idea, which is quite often the answer I'll get. So if that's your answer, no stress. And while you guys do that, I'll just let you know that I'm going to make the webinar as interactive as possible. So after each main section, we'll do some question and answer. You guys will see a little chat box open up for you. And once that happens, I'll be happy to answer your questions on the spot. If it's something that's a little too big to answer in an hour-long webinar, we'll have to talk about that via email or possibly a phone conversation or over a cup of coffee. You guys may also notice, depending on your broadband speed or your internet connection, there might be a little bit of a lag, 10 to 15 seconds sometimes. So I'm actually speaking to you from the past right now, which is kind of, I don't know, weird. Anyway, so far we've got two answers. We've got one no and one I have no idea. So you guys can continue to answer that if you like, but I'm going to move on because we have a lot of ground to cover in the next hour. So let's answer the question, what is Google My Business? And to do that, let's take a look at a live search on Google. So what happens when we do a natural search? Let's say I want to search for a florist. It's on my anniversary. I want to get my wife some nice flowers. I type in flowers. That's all I type. You see, Google's giving me some other options here, but I just type flowers in this case. We've got some ads up at top here. And right down here, we have a Google Map, and we've got three local results. And this is essentially what Google My Business is. Somebody types in a keyword or a keyword phrase, and quite often we're going to see a Google Maps result. Google Maps is actually part of Google My Business. They're one and the same, integrated together. Okay, so to give you another example, if we come here and we search for dentist, we're going to get a very similar look. Here's your map with all the dentists that are close to my zip code that I'm currently in. It's a localized region. And then we've got the top three here. And the reason why these are the top three, it can be kind of complicated, but one of the major reasons is, one, these companies have a Google My Business page. If they didn't, they wouldn't show up. Two is they've optimized it. They've completed every section, and they've utilized keywords and keyword phrases and relevant copy to make their Google My Business page more relevant than others. And to show you what I mean, right down here, we click on More Dentist, and this goes on and on and on. There's pages and pages of it. So the goal really, if at all possible, is to get up in here so we're being seen right away. Okay. Now, before I move any further, I am going to turn on chat. Okay. Too fast for myself. Sorry, guys. Okay, so we're enabling chat. And I did want to open up the floor. If anybody has questions, you should see in the upper left-hand corner a little talking bubble that is now a darker gray. And if you click on that, then you'll see your right hand of your screen will give you an opportunity to ask a question. Totally okay if you don't have a question, but I want to make sure everybody's on board so far with where we're at before I move forward. Okay, it looks like we don't have any questions yet, but I'm going to leave this on as I continue, just in case somebody does have one in the next couple of minutes. So now, just one more level of what Google My Business is. We see kind of how it works, what it looks like, but really, Google My Business, in essence, is a tool that Google created to help small businesses and really all local businesses get noticed within whatever region they're in. So if your zip code is 53719, that's where your address is, and you're a dentist and somebody's looking for what you do, you're very likely going to show up on this page if you've optimized your Google My Business page well. All right. This works, again, in conjunction with Google Maps in order to provide these local searches, which are extremely accurate. It's almost really like a bullseye, right? My office, to give you a little bit more example, is actually downtown. It's about 8 miles from where I'm currently searching. And if we come up here and search for SEO Madison, you guys will see right here, it's Cuppa SEO. And what will happen over time is your region or the size of your bullseye can grow or diminish depending on other factors like how well optimized your website is, how much traffic your website gets, if you're consistently blogging, if you're using social media. A lot of things that we're not going to be talking about today, but there's more factors involved with Google My Business than just the one page. All right, so you see here is the Cuppa SEO, and that's about an 8-mile drive from where I currently am. All right, so I see we have no questions. So let's move on to why this is important. All right. While we do that, I'll give you guys a look at what it looks like if you click on Cuppa SEO. This is what you'll see. And if everything's populated well, see on the left-hand side here, there's all this robust information about contact, a blog workshop. It really starts to pull through a lot of information, including over here, my address, phone number, and then of course on the right-hand side here, some images and a little bit more information about reviews and things like that. And it's really cool if you look down here under reviews, it actually shows a couple of snippets of people's reviews. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. So the reason why this is so important is you will absolutely not show up at all. You will not show up at all in this list if you don't have a Google My Business page. And as you guys can see, it's one of the first things that come up right after the ads. So if somebody's searching, in this case for SEO, they might just come here and say, okay, here are 3 choices. These people are at the top. Let me pick one. And they may never make it down to this area to even see where you are or who's down there. So setting up a page in and of itself is the first hurdle. And in order to do that, you will need a Google Plus account or Google Plus page as well. If you do have one, great. If you don't, there's no stress. This is a very easy thing to do. All you'll do is actually go to Google and Google Plus. It'll ask you to log in or set up an account. Just follow the on-page directions. All right. Typically, the process to set this up would be first, set up your Google Plus page under your own personal information. So mine is Joey Donovan Guido. Then once you have that, you can set up a Google My Business page that's all about your business. Okay, but Google first wants to make sure you're a real person and all that, so they're kind of verify you through the process of first having a personal page. Once you have a Google My Business page, it's fairly easy to set up a Google Plus business page as well. And you guys will see it kind of automatically generates based on the information you give. Okay, we still have chat on, so if anybody has any questions at this point, feel free to ask. And we are going to move on to, well, before we do that, I have one more thing I want to bring up to you guys, because, you know, this is all kind of forced upon us, right? Google said, you know, we're going to have a Google Plus, we're going to have a Google My Business, we're going to buy YouTube, and pretty much, you know, if you want to rank well online, you've got to use our stuff. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people kind of feel forced into a corner by Google. And what often happens, even if we have set up a Google My Business page, is we don't use it, right? Because we don't really want to. My philosophy is this. We have a choice. We can either not do anything, which in turn is hurting our business, or we can look at this as the huge opportunity it actually is. Google is giving small businesses, local businesses, an excellent opportunity to get found more easily. And you know, years ago, this didn't exist. And if you searched SEO or florist, it was not as well refined as bringing you the local searches. Not a big deal if you're Nike or Adidas, right? Or Apple, because you're a national, possibly an international company. The local component doesn't mean as much to you. But all of a sudden, what if I am Nike and I have a local store? Like there's a beautiful store in Midtown, New York. Now, in addition to that global presence, I might want to work on my Google My Business page. Because if somebody's searching for sneakers, I want them to find the Nike store, which of course is huge, and their website is huge. But it does make a difference to have that Google My Business page. So, that being said, let's dive into some of the components of what makes for a well-designed, well-populated Google My Business page. All right. This is the Cuppa SEO Google My Business page. And as you guys can see here, this is what is on the Home tab. And if you've set up a page already, you'll sign in with your Google username and password, be the same as your Google Plus credentials, and then get to your Google My Business page. Start off here, okay, on Home. If you haven't made one yet, it's essentially going to bring you here pretty early on in the process. So what do we do with this? What does Joey do that's so successful that's got him second or third typically on a Google search for local SEO people? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to click on the edit button in the upper right-hand area. And that's going to take me to my edit page. You'll see at the top, I have 100% completed. So in a lot of ways, you can think of this as a test. This is only a test where you want to get every nook and cranny populated to get yourself to that 100%. Now, some of these things we're going to talk about, the human eye just isn't going to care about so much, but Google cares. And if Google cares, it's going to influence whether or not you get placed in front of the human eye. All right? So we want to make sure that we populate this properly. So 100%. Yay. The next line is the business name. Now, if you're not incorporated yet, go ahead and use your business name anyway. I'm an LLC. I don't put that here just because it looks nicer without. But put your business name in here. If you're just getting started, you can see you can always edit this down the road. But it's a better idea beforehand to make a decision about your business name. You don't want to be changing it once you put this page up, just for the fact that it could confuse people, okay? Next is going to be our address. And again, here's mine down on West Mifflin Street. This is a super important point. Your address, if you're a home-based business, is of course going to be where you live. And I would strongly advise not using your home address for your Google My Business page. One reason is because Google typically will put a screenshot of the actual cross street and oftentimes the building, okay? And we don't want to show your house as your place of business for one reason, because it kind of delegitimizes you, right? You're a home-based business. You kind of lost some credibility right off the bat. You also don't want people showing up at your house unexpectedly if they're thinking, well, their business hours are 9 to 5, and you're in your pajamas building your Google My Business page and the door knocks. So part of it is about image, but a large part of it also is where you're located here is going to determine where Google places you in their local search results, okay? So you might be wondering, well, Joey, I don't have a freestanding business. I just have my house. What do I do? Well, there's a couple of answers. Usually the easiest thing to do is go to a UPS store in the zip code that you want to be doing business in. So, and most of the time that's going to be Madison, okay? Anybody on the webinar today who's local to Dane County, Madison, Wisconsin has the densest population. It has the most daily searches going on for pretty much any keyword you could imagine, all right? So even if you're in DeForest, unless you strictly want to work with people in DeForest, you might want to consider using a Madison, Wisconsin zip code. And these are some nuances that might need to be considered for a while and discussed before you actually make a decision. Okay, but just know that Madison is going to be your hub and your greatest place for success. Even if you're a therapist, psychotherapy, Madison is going to get a lot more search results than psychotherapy, Dodgeville. It's just going to. All right, so UPS charges a couple $100s a year, and what they will give you is a complete address, just like the one you see here. All right, that's not what I did. What I did was I talked to one of the groups I was affiliated with, and they allowed me to use their address. So that's another thing to consider if you're part of a chamber, if you're part of a group that meets, a networking group that meets weekly, monthly, whatever. You might want to put out a feeler to the group and say, hey, would it be okay if I used your address as my mailing address strictly for the purposes of Google My Business? You're going to want to be transparent about it. You don't want them thinking they're going to be getting 10 or 20 pieces of mail a week for your business. All right, so those are the two main options you have, because in order to rank in Google's algorithm to show up in these search results, you've got to have a full address. It cannot be a P.O. box. Okay? Hopefully this makes sense. Oh, looks like we've got a couple of questions. Let's address them. Hey, Jeff. Let's see. We've got the first question from Jeff is, I'll read it, so I'm not sure if you guys all have it on screen. Joey, I'm not sure if everyone else is experiencing the technical problems I am. I'm only getting small segments of your webinar. It acts like there is not enough bandwidth. Okay. I am dropping off because I can no longer hear you and your screenshot has not moved. So any of you who are on the call, this could be happening for a variety of reasons. But if you guys can just chime in and let me know if you're having problems as well, or if you're doing okay. What I will do is I will adjust my bandwidth a little bit, just in case it's me. It's actually on automatic, so I think we should leave it at that because that's going to give us the very best upload from my side. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and continue, but if you guys are also having problems, Noreen, you're doing good. Okay, great. If you are, this will be on YouTube also. And excellent. Okay. So I think I'm going to have to put in a call with Jeff and see what kind of router he's using. I'm sorry, Jeff. My apologies. Okay. So let's move on to the next section. We talked about address. Contact info is self-explanatory. You're going to want to have a valid phone number. Of course, your website URL. If you don't have a website yet, just leave it blank. As soon as you do, come back here and put it in. It's going to be really important because one of the things that happens is the authority or how well optimized your website will affect your Google My Business ranking and where you show up. Okay, so we want to get that website address in here as soon as possible so you get credit for it. And it works the other way too. Your Google My Business authority and the ranking you have here will help your website. So it's kind of neat how everything plays really nicely together. The problem is it can be kind of overwhelming, right? Fellow small business owners, you're like, I got to do this, I got to do that. The trick is to do one thing at a time. I'm not asking you to do it all today, and nor should you ask that of yourself. Take care of one thing at a time, do it right, move on to the next thing. Okay? So we've got, next up is your category. I'm going to click on edit just to show you guys what it looks like. Categories are kind of weird depending on your business. If you're a massage therapist, you're good. You've got massage, sports massage, Thai massage.